going to get into it with Klay Thompson. Watch this here. Maybe a little bit Jalen of a flop. We're going to have some talking back and forth. I'm sure Klay was saying that was a blatant flop, and as we see the replay, you're going to see it probably was.
It was a lot of a flop, but great to see Klay, who's normally mild-mannered, mix it up a little bit. They were getting beaten on the road. They were trying to fire themselves up.
Might have mixed it up a little too much there. Collins and Klay both assessed technical fouls, but in the end, everything would continue calmly until less than 4 minutes to go. Here's the controversial moment. Collins to the rack. Draymond Green with a foul. Anything unusual about this foul in your mind, Jalen?
Yeah, there was something unusual. Draymond Green never jumped. He took a swipe at the ball. It could be deemed flagrant. The refs went to the table. Collins had already been mixing it up with his teammates, and therefore they decided to call a flagrant foul.
And Steve Kerr decided to lose his mind. You see him there going crazy. In the end, and again, we can debate whether it's a good or a bad call. Kerr loses it. Flagrant on Draymond. 2 technicals on Kerr. He's thrown out. An additional tech on Green. Kerr has to be restrained. And in the end, the Blazers run away and hide with the win. Steve, let's talk.
I was just shocked that that was called a flagrant foul. That was head scratching. I mean, the guy's going to go in for a dunk. You got to make sure he doesn't dunk it. You know, obviously we'll get an explanation from the league, but I just thought it was just a good hard foul. So I guess I was wrong.
I felt him. I mean, I understand his anger and his rage, especially for that call. I mean, I thought we should just keep playing as a common foul. I thought refs looked at it differently, and I understand why coach was a little frustrated. Whatever. We got a lot of ball. I don't know. This is Draymond rule.
Steve seemed to be surprised they even looked at it.
I knew they would look at it because they always look at like fouls with me, but whatever.
All right, now including the playoffs, the Warriors have played nearly 1,900 quarters under Steve Kerr, and minus 23 matches their worst scoring margin in any of those quarters, which is what they were last night. In the end, they're done twice previously in Kerr's first season with the team, but that's not the story. The story, of course, is Draymond getting the call for the flagrant in that circumstance and Kerr getting thrown out. And I sense from your reaction there, and I'm a little surprised, that you actually agreed with the call.
I wasn't mad at the call because it was a series of actions that were taking place if you were watching the game. You showed a couple of them. The hustle play by Collins when he had the block on Lee, when he got tangled up with Klay. You just showed a stat that they were getting the brakes beat off of them, negative 24 in the fourth quarter.
Right.
The Warriors were frustrated. Collins was coming toward the basket. Draymond was trying to prevent him from dunking on him. He made a play at the ball, and he made a play at his arm and at his head. He never jumped, so now the play's in question. They took it to the table, they looked at the intent, and they gathered all of the plays that I talked about. And
Jay will agree or disagree?
I disagree with it. If you watched the video before where you saw Draymond involved in the potential scuffle between Zach and also Klay, he really wasn't around. He had nothing to do with it. He was trying to actually diffuse the situation. Now, I understand what it could be perceived as, and I understand that there is a Draymond rule. I get all that. But with that being said, he made a play on the ball. He made a play on the ball. He actually got the ball. So I do agree with Steve Kerr. I don't think that was a flagrant foul at all.
Well, and Draymond says, Greeny, that he gets officiated different from other players. You kind of agree with that.
Well, I do, and he deserves it richly. The one part of that you can miss me with is that he's being persecuted. He richly deserves the reputation that he has. I started out in this industry covering the Bulls when Dennis Rodman was on their team, and he would complain all the time that he was officiated differently. And you know what? He 100% was, and he 100% deserved to be, because Dennis Rodman did a lot of stuff that was dirty. And so he got a reputation for being a dirty player. If Draymond Green doesn't want to be officiated differently than other players, he might want to stop kicking them in their private area every now and again, and he would be viewed differently than a lot of other players are. So do I think that was a questionable call that wouldn't go on other people? I do, but you know what? That's what you get when you play the game.
So then, Greeny, every foul is a flagrant foul for Draymond Green? Essentially, that's what you're making a case for that, though.
It is not unreasonable to look at him a little differently than you look at other players. And he has never gotten called for a foul that he agreed with, and you know the referees get sick of hearing that too. Look, should they officiate everyone the same? Of course they should, but we know that's not the way it works, and Draymond is going to get singled out.
How much of Steve Kerr's reaction, though, Jalen, was about frustration with the way his team was playing in this game and almost wanting to light a fire under them as well?
I agree. They were getting beat by 23 in the fourth quarter. They were playing without Draymond Green. Kerr and Draymond, unlike last year, were trying to get an early exit because they're not going to be at All-Star Weekend. It was just, it was just a perfect storm of a lot of things that were happening in the Trailblazers' favor, and so that's why they got caught.
All right, let's see if James